"You're him! You're the guy!" I thought I would be the one saying those words. But no, none other than mighty Mel Chesler was aiming a quavering, bony finger at me as he flashed an excited grin that showcased some disconcertingly gleaming white teeth. I hadn't been this creeped out since the last time I had sex with my ex-wife, which I mentally referred to as the time she moved. But at the same time, I was completely blown away. Comic book legend Mighty Mel was excited to meet me. Melvin Chesler, better known to millions of comic fans as Mighty Mel, had been a legend in the comic book business, one of the many money-grubbing publishers who paid writers and artists peanuts while he made millions. From the 1940s on, whatever trend was hot, crime, horror, westerns, funny animals, romance, and, of course, superheroes. He quickly jumped on every potential cash cow and then milked it until its teats ran dry. Like any good cold-blooded businessman, Mighty Mel valued money, not creativity, unless, of course, that creativity could make him money. And if you were an artist or writer who provided that kind of profitable imagination, well, then he'd find a way to squeeze you until you bled to death. Of course, I had no idea about any of that when I was a kid reading his comics. Even though the artists and writers were what attracted the change in my pocket, you don't know when you're 9 years old that the wrong guy almost always ends up with the biggest bank account. Even when a creative type did make a killing, it was usually under fraudulent circumstances. Take Bob Kane, the creator of Batman, who managed to lock himself into a lucrative lifetime contract with DC Comics. In reality, he could barely draw, and a guy named Bill Finger actually came up with most of the great ideas. Kane just happened to be as big a swindler as the publishers. Meanwhile, the two guys who invented Superman, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, were as far from businessmen as you can imagine. Both ended up unemployable and living in poverty until the lawyers finally got them some measly payback in the late 1970s, when both men were on their last legs. All I knew was comics saved my life. Growing up as the final child of two indifferent parents meant I had to find solace elsewhere. So, until I finally got laid, comic books served as my personal fortress of solitude. Then I grew up and left all that behind, until a few years ago when I reconnected with my childhood passion. Through book compilations of my favorite stories, as well as candid histories of the shit that really went on back then. And that's how I came to find out that Mighty Mel, the guy who presented himself to his readership as the funnest fella in the world, had been in reality an epic asshole. Still, my childhood awe was in overdrive. I couldn't believe he had personally called me in on a job. But there he was, sitting across from me behind an ancient, battered desk that looked like it weighed more than a Dodge pickup loaded up with fertilizer. Giving him the once-over now, I had to say Mel wasn't looking so mighty these days. First of all, he had to be close to entering his second century of existence on this planet Earth, leaving his tight, translucent skin a never-ending festival of liver spots and wrinkles. Secondly, he looked like he weighed about 30 pounds soaking wet. He was as close to being a skeleton as you can get without actually being a skeleton.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.